Welcome back, everybody, to season 2, episode 2 of Brothers in the Deep End. We're excited for this. Today speaking is one of your hosts, Casey, and I'm here with my brother today, Ethan Addison, who's also a host on this show. We're here to talk about a topic that's pretty subjective, and we can have multiple meanings across a different spectrum for every single person we come across. We all know it's been a hard time for everyone who's listening, and 2020 was the start of a new decade, so everyone had big goals and high expectations. Unfortunately, most of us had to pivot towards something new, and in our lives, we had goals and dreams that we were also very super excited about, but eventually had to pivot and change the approach on what we wanted to do and what success really meant for us. And that's what we're here to talk about today. I'm here with my brother, and we're about to talk about what success means to both of us and what can it mean for other people.
Word.
So let's get into it.
It's something that we talk about all the time. So me, back in the day, I used to play football. I thought being successful was making it to the NFL. If I didn't make it to the NFL, I didn't know what I was going to do or, being that star in football. But then it changed. When certain events happen, that changes. Like we talked about in the previous recording with COVID, it changed. And I think success to me is just being happy and going after really what you want in life. And just getting your mind right, getting yourself right, and chasing that happiness. So like Nip said it in Face the World. He said, victory to me is when you spend your time right. Victory to me is when you get your grind right. Victory to me is when you get your moms right. And I live by that. I live by that.
Moms right, bro. You gotta get moms right.
I mean, I live by that because if I have all these in line, I feel like I'm in balance. I'm doing my thing and I'm on the path to being successful, and I'm doing what is right and just, I'm spending my time right. I got my grind right, and my mom's is good. So I'm in my balance, and no one can stop that.
I agree 1,000%. I
Mhm.
think that's something that's extremely important. I think everyone, to a certain level, whoever I think agrees with you can say they would definitely agree that I think getting your family right and getting your money right is definitely the most important thing. But I think there's a very high spectrum, right? We're going to get into this a little bit, but I think there's a very broad and very wide spectrum of what success means, I think, to people, because success can mean money. Success can mean happiness.
It can mean
Success
fame.
can mean love. Yeah, success can mean fame. And some people don't wish fame. You know what I'm saying? Some people really just want to be like your average Joe and they say, I'm good. But, like I said, it all depends also on the legacy and your family you were raised in. I believe I'm about to ask you a question. So where do you see yourself in a couple years?
In a couple years, I'm gonna own multiple properties. I'm gonna be on my ownership shit. I'm ready and am. There's a lot that I want to do in a couple of years. I see this podcast. Let's talk about the podcast. I know I just flipped it. Let's talk about the podcast. Let's see this podcast flourishing. It already is. It's in a star of flourishing, but I see it really booming and impacting, really creating a change on Instagram, on YouTube, in real life. And people go to Brothers in Deep and yo, these guys changed my life. You got to tune in. We're known for motivational purposes and talking out real stuff. So I see that in a couple of years. I see me just doing my own thing and being my own boss, which I already am. But onto a whole nother level where it's I don't gotta depend on nobody for shit.
Financial freedom?
We could say, freedom to do what I want. I'm already kind of, I graduated. Thankfully, I graduated college, and I'm just now. It's now I'm kind of I took that break to just do me. I'm working for myself right now, and I'm just trying to invest my money right and make these power plays. So truly, I flip the spectrum. I'm not on this side. I'm on this side of the room. I'm the dudes behind the curtain. I'm not in the main. You know what I'm saying? I'm making I'm making the plays, and they're just working for themselves, and I could just kick back, and then I come in. I'm the honcho in the room. I'm sitting in the middle of the table. Casey's here, but I'm here, the Godfather, the Don.
You gotta kiss the ring, bro.
So yeah, that's where I see myself. There's a lot of stuff I have in line. Truly, I want to retire my mom in a couple of years. I see my mom in a couple of years. I want to see my mom kick her feet back and not do nothing, and just I want it to be all on me. And I want to create opportunities for people in my environment and for my friends and for those in need. I want to create multiple opportunities and just give the guideline and structure for anyone out there that's going through it or just wants to be successful and give them the proper leeway to get there.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say, so kind of talking about parents here a little bit. So I think one of my I'm gonna say like my biggest mentors or someone I look up to is actually like my mother. Hands down, still to this day, I think my mom is actually one of the most successful people I think I've ever met in my life.
And why is that?
Like, and I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Now, here's the story. Boom. Right. So growing up, my mom never really had much. She grew up on a family, like she has a whole bunch of siblings, right? 2 or 3 siblings, and they all lived in a house together with my grandfather and my grandmother. And they grew up on, like back in the day, she was really poor, really had nothing. She grew up in Sunset Park, and she grew up on food stamps. They didn't have no money for nothing. They didn't have money for anything. Barely school, barely any of that. And my mom's story I think is really inspirational. She works for JP Morgan. She's been there for over 30 something years at this point.
You already said too much about what they work for, but go ahead.
You're right. But no, like the craziest part is her story is really crazy. So she told me one day, she's like, Casey, she always emphasizes this as I grew up. She was like, hard work is gonna get you everywhere. She's like, don't rely on anybody. Always work on yourself and always work on your grind, because no matter what you do, you have your career and you will have no one has your back like you have yourself.
Yeah.
And that's 1,000%.
I just want to piggyback. Don't lose your thought.
Nah, you're cool.
So my dad said the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't depend on nobody. Work for what you want,
Mm-hmm.
and get to it.
Absolutely.
And have your back at the end of the day. Because he even told me that, like I said in the other episodes, and those that are listening, you got you, and you can't depend on nobody for what you're trying to do or whatnot. You got to have a solid team, to fill some key roles, or you may need some people, but at the end of the day, you got to learn how to get to it by all means.
Mm-hmm.
So what your mother said is key.
Yeah, no, and I still live to that by this day, and her story still to this motivates the shit out of me. I know it's like we're in a way different generation, but I'll get into that in like one sec. So she went for a job interview actually one time. So she didn't have the clothes, she didn't have anything. She was poor, and she didn't have any of this. And she had a friend that was going for an interview for JP Morgan at the time, and this story is crazy, bro. Like it literally goes low key gives me goosebumps. But she was her friend asked if she wanted to come with her to this interview, just to go, what I'm saying, just for shits and giggles. And my mom's like, oh, I don't have clothes. So her friend actually ended up giving her clothes for this interview. That's a real friend. I'm not gonna hold you. But her friend gave her clothes for this interview, and she went through this whole entire interview process. And my mom said, oh, I don't really plan on working with JP Morgan. But they said, just come in for the experience, come in for the interview process, and we'll show you, just a little bit like how it works. So when you go for another job, this is what it's about. And they actually ended up liking my mom in the end, and they actually gave her a call within like the next like day or week, and they said like, you have a job here in a position at JP Morgan if you're really into it. And my mom like accepted, and she's been with them ever since 18 years old, and now she's like in her mid 50s, early 50s. And that's crazy to me. And like when she told me that story, it goes to show you that like, and like she's rose up this chain of command for such a long period of time, over 30 years. And she's shown me everything she's done. She used to take home like all these awards. She used to travel. She used to take me with her. And she's just shown me all the benefits of working hard. And, she always kept me grounded. She kind of dressed me really ugly growing up. I had the ugliest shit at like a young age, until I got to like middle school maybe. Because then my dad kind of like walked in a little bit.
You still dress ugly. Okay,
yeah,
go
you're
ahead.
right. Look at this sweater, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, uh-huh.
But like, my dad kind of came in like halfway, and he was a little bit like, he's like, I got you with the swag, bro. I got you. And then that's when I started like the finer things in life. But she always kept me humble, and she always kept me grounded. And I think that's something important, at least in today's world, because I feel like a lot of people were handed that silver spoon.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, they don't work as hard, I think, as people who really want it and people who struggle,
Talking about that, does success equate to all the materialistic stuff you got?
So I think that's subjective, right? That's for everybody. This can be a very subjective topic. But for me, I think success doesn't equate to the materialistic items that I have, but this can go into something like, does it make me happy? So now the question here is like, now you're asking me pretty much like, does money buy happiness? Now I'm gonna ask you, does money buy happiness?
I didn't say does money buy happiness, but it does. We're gonna get to that. But I said, does the materialistic stuff equate to success for you?
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah, which I don't. It don't. If for some people it may, but I don't think
1,000%. And I agree with you on that, because there are definitely people out there who think that like you got to have the nicest things to be the most successful. But if you broke in the end, what's the point of having all those nice things, bro?
Yeah, bro. There's a whole bunch of imaginary players out there. Got all this designer and whatnot, but their assets is very low compared to their liabilities. They don't really own shit. All they own is a shirt, but they don't own no stake in the company that makes the shirt, or what the case may be.
It's the Capadons, bro.
Bunch of dojas, all right? But yeah, I seen it all the time. I seen that shit all the time. But does money buy happiness? So we as we was on our way here, I put, what is your definition of success? So my friend, my brother, Mohib Shah, his Instagram is up next underscore Mo. Shout out Mohib, a dude that put me on a lot of game. One of my friends since elementary. So he said, financial freedom, which should lead to happiness for you and those around you. So that being said, money, to me, in my opinion, does not buy happiness. Financial freedom, right? What he said he said, financial freedom could lead to happiness for you and those around you, but entirely you have to be happy first. You gotta be happy with yourself, because you could get all this money, and then still not be happy. You could travel to Dubai, to London, to here and there, and then still be a miserable fuck. Excuse my language, or just still be miserable. So, like, financial freedom, yeah, it can make you happy, but you have to be happy with who you are first.
Now you gotta love yourself.
Yeah, money's gonna continue buying you happiness. Then what happens when it runs out? Well, money is not gonna run out. But you know what I'm saying? What happens when you just get bored of just using your money to buy happiness? Then it's like, what you know what I'm getting at?
No, I get you. And it's really funny that you bring that up. I actually saw the scientific research. No, I don't remember the source. Don't jack it. But I saw this one article talking about how money can actually like buy you happiness, like to like forever. I mean, I get it though, because I understand like where they're coming from at a point where it's just like when you have enough money or a lot of money, like you just want more money. And honestly, that's a grind. And I respect it, you know what I'm saying? But like I think there also is a point where like how much can like this money really buy you this like happiness, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like how much happiness can this money buy you? Because at one point, like we spoke about this before we were even like getting here, but money can only get you so far with your happiness because my mom always tells me this one thing. She's like, I'd rather be broke, poor, and homeless and on the street than rich and miserable. And I look at her all the time and I'm like, nah, you capping, bro. I was like, stop the cap. Cause I'm sorry, but like, that's not me. Like, I think like with that money, I can provide so much more for my family and give them so much more. And like, I'd rather be crying to my Lamborghini in the end, bro. Like, I'm sorry, but that's just me. But all jokes aside, I think the more money you have, the more you're able to support your family. And I think that's something that's extremely important to me. As you know, my time on earth is very limited. I think we should be able to build a legacy and provide for the next generation to come. You know, I want to be able, like, that's one of my definitions of success, is to have a family and be able to provide for them and leave them enough money so I know that they're not struggling. Though I think it's important to struggle at certain times because I think struggle builds character and it makes you want it that much more. But I think, you know, being able to support your family and being financially stable and having this whole entire foundation built is what happiness is to me. And having someone to do it with is extremely important. Not just like your regular blood family. I'm talking about like a wife, kids. Like that's extremely important. You have to find someone in this process of life to do this with so you're happy in the end. And if you're not happy, then you better go find your happiness because it's never going to work if you're not happy. And you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. You do have a point, because that's what I'm trying to obtain too. And my dad, that's what, to me, my dad was a successful person because, you know, what he did for me and my family, remarkable. His legacy still lives on through me, but I can't even explain what my dad did because top secret. But just what you said is very key, having that legacy and be able to pass that down and take care of those around you. But do you need all this? Like, there's a certain thing, right? Do you need all it? Like, all right, $1 million. We need $1 million to do this. Da, 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 da. I think you should get specific with your goals and then attack them. Maybe you don't need 10 mil. Maybe you just need to make 100,000 a year, or I'm just throwing out numbers, 125, and then you could be financially stable and do what you got to do. A lot of us,
1,000%.
you know. But again, I don't think we should get content with the amount of money we're making because it's out there for us to make, and there's, you know, you could get after it in all ways, in all fashions, but just not overdoing it. Like, oh, I gotta hit 10 mil, and if I don't hit 10 mil, I'm not successful. Because some people get crushed by that when they don't hit their goals. And then, like we said, we had to pivot that and change it.
So I have a question.
Oh, this fucking guy.
So do you think there should be billionaires?
There are billionaires. Yeah, I think there should be billionaires.
But do you think like their amount of money is like do you think that amount of money is like damn, like that's success?
Hell, I mean, yeah.
Like to an extent, like no shit. But like,
yeah,
do you think there should be like someone should have that much money? Because like I don't know.
For me, I don't need to be a billionaire. That's not even on my goals. Like to be a billionaire. Me, maybe a millionaire, maybe a million. Maybe I just need me. I'm thinking 500,000, or maybe even less than that for me to do what I want to do and be financially free. I don't need a billion. But if I do get a billion, I'm gonna give a lot of that shit back because it's
1,000%.
It's just like, to me, it's just too much, man. Do other shit with that. What's the whole point of being successful if you're not gonna give any of that back?
1,000%. I agree with that. I agree with that. And I think that's the bigger picture. I think that's where a lot of people in society also kind of come to this, like, should we have billionaires, like, view? Because I feel like a lot of people feel like they don't give enough back. And, I always tell this, like, one of my biggest successes, like, I'm an artist, for people listening, I make music out there. And I always tell this.
Case with a period.
Case with the dot, you know what I'm saying? But like, I feel like one of my biggest things, and I have it, like, I was thinking about this as I got here. And as an artist, I think for me, what success to me as an artist is to be able to give back and put my city on the map. I know Brooklyn's a very big and everyone knows Brooklyn, but like if I can bring up like my neighborhood and make my neighborhood that much more better and give people the opportunity who couldn't get out that opportunity, that's what success is to me. Because in the end, your music is one thing, but who you are as a person is another. Like people listen to your music, yeah, that's cool, but you as the artist is what makes your fans stick with you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, you can have one good song, but if that doesn't equate to you as a person, what's the point of you dropping music? If it doesn't correlate to who you are.
Yeah.
And I think that's very big, in terms of like success, for me at least. Like I have a whole bunch of different types of success that I want to reach because I have like 4 careers, that I can pick from. But each one I think correlates to a certain level of success that I want to reach in each one. And that's what's going to make me happy because I'm like, yeah, I reached these goals, but like now what's next for me?
Yeah. And of course, there's always a something what's next. But I think I'm going to just go off what you said. It's about that balance and how everything adds up at the end of the day. Just like I mentioned in the beginning with the Nipsey Hussle thing. Also, I want to attack on never getting too comfortable. That's what's going to separate you from being successful and unsuccessful. So let me bring up Jeff Bezos, for example, Amazon. So first, he started as an online book retail. Who would have thought Amazon would have been
company?
Would have been this company, right? Now it's a tech company. Now it's about to start offering pharmaceuticals. It has different branches. Now it has the groceries. It never stops. Jeff Bezos is never stopping. And he attacked one thing, then went after another. But he kept that solid blueprint he had and used that to attack different markets. All right, so I attacked here. I'm gonna use the same formula to attack something else. It just kept going. And even if it failed with something else, he shrugged it off, bounced right back, and went to a whole nother lane. You can't have too much emotion with your goals.
You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
But don't get caught up in your emotions because I guarantee you he took L's. But was he dwelling over those L's?
No, definitely
Was he
not.
dwelling over those struggles? No, he was like, okay, I lost 20,000. All right, on to the next. I'm gonna try something else. Same thing with Jay-Z. And something you could look up. I told Casey, get this book, Decoded. Throw him, and I got him the book. But this dude, I guarantee you, he didn't read it yet. Did you read Decoded?
No, I haven't read it yet.
And I fucking told y'all. I fucking told y'all. No, I fucking told y'all. So I told Casey read because it's very powerful. And he talks about, in a basic format, he talks about how he went from just a rapper to creating his own label, to then having stakes in multiple businesses, to doing what he's doing now. Now he is a living mogul. He owns his own cigar. Now he got his luxury cigar brand or what the case may be. But I told Casey looking at, and then if you really decipher Jay-Z's lyrics, he talks about his career at that time frame and what he's about to do in the future or what he's doing then. So reasonable doubt, all that. And we're also going to talk about hip hop in a future upcoming episode. But yeah, and I told Casey to get on that because it's bigger than being an artist. You know, you have all these different things you're trying to do and you want to be diversified. You know, you don't want to settle. You see, he did not settle with just being labeled as an artist or a rapper. You know,
1000%.
now no one could touch him because, like, feel me?
He hit the billion mark.
Yeah.
And I also think, you know, getting back to your point where you were talking about how, you know, you got to do all these different ventures and you have to, you know, not put all your eggs in one basket. And I think that's extremely important, especially in this time period. You know, we mentioned this in the intro, and we kind of talked a lot about how, you know, 2020 was supposed to be that year. You know what I'm saying? And 2020 was supposed to be that start of a new decade, and everyone was like, 2020 is my year. And a lot of people, I think, were extremely disappointed with the way 2020 obviously, you know, ended and how it played through. And I think it opened up a lot of eyes for a lot of people that, like, shit ain't always gonna go as it seems. And a lot of people had to switch up their, because it's crazy to see this, but you see so many people who are doing so good, right? And you see all these businesses booming, but now you go around the city and everything's closed down. Now imagine that family. That was their goal and that was their life. And now they put everything into that, and now they have to find something else to rebuild that thing. And that's why I'm saying, like, everyone has to have a balance in everything they do. You can't go all in for one thing, because if you have so many more other options, you can boom in so many more other places and build a bigger network. That's more money.
And then you could just make that quick switch. Like what I was talking, like a lot of athletes per se used to play football, right? My NFL dreams did not get crushed. It came to a halt, came to a stop, or football stopped. For a lot of collegiate athletes listening, or any of my friends that's playing football, a lot of them's like, yo, I don't know what to do. Like when college is done and when football is done, I don't know what to do. And they're just in college for football, and they just pick this major, I tell them all the time, don't just rely on that. Like, that is so temporary. Like, make sure you find other passions and other ventures too. Like, you're not just stuck on that one thing. Because if that thing falls short, what do you got? What are you going to do? And then some of them fall into depression. Some of them may have suicidal thoughts. It's crazy. You can research it. It's because they just feel lost and whatnot. I think it's good just to be open and explore. And like I said, never getting too comfortable. And that's people just too comfortable in that one sector. Like, oh, this is what I like to do. This is simple. I'm striving in it. They just settle in that. Like, nah, always look for new things to attack. Keep your mind open. And yeah, man.
No, and I agree with that. And I think that's something, like I said, is extremely important to understand, because I feel like our generation is very temporary. And I feel like the way shit's moving nowadays, we have to be ready to adapt and overcome. That's really funny. That's the Marine Corps motto, but that's really straight facts. But adapt and overcome. If you don't adapt to these new times or the new thing that's happening, you're going to get left behind, man. And you don't want to get left behind, especially in these times, because times are hard.
Right.
And that shit never changing.
And a lot of shit is temporary. Let's bring up something. I don't know if I mentioned this, and sorry if I'm repeating myself, but we live in this time period now, right? With followers and social media. I don't think I mentioned this.
Nah, we didn't talk about this.
All right. I'm going to say this. This is a fucking Ethan fact. I'm going to fuck what y'all motherfuckers think. Success does not equate to how much fame you have. All this following shit. I'm gonna use a good example. Y'all gonna laugh. May think I'm coming at him, and he's right next to me.
I'm dead.
My boy Casey has a shit ton of followers. That shit don't mean shit. You know, I mean, it means something, but he has a shit ton of followers. But at the end of the day, it don't mean nothing, because all that could be gone in a blink of an eye. All that fame shit. You could have 1 million followers and not be successful, not be happy. Casey at the point, he's happy regardless of how shit comes. But I'm just saying, like,
no, there is.
Yeah, I'm using a prime example. I'm not coming at him. I'm using a prime example. But don't get discouraged. Oh, I don't got 10,000 followers like Casey, or what the case may be. I'm not on the path to being successful. I'm not doing my thing. No. Bullshit. The same thing with your podcast and whatnot. Just take it one step at a time. Go with the small steps, and then soon everything will add up. But don't worry too much about the numbers and all that. What's meant for you is meant for you at the end of the day. You just got to continue taking the right steps forward.
And as long as you keep moving forward, no one can stop you. I think Kanye said it best. She's Instagram famous, but she can't keep a job. That's facts. If you can't be like capping all over social media, acting like you live in this life, but you know you don't in the end. You know, we spoke about that a lot, I think, too, like when it came to success. We talked about, I think, how society has put like this very like stereotype or stereotypical view that if you have like all these nice cars and these nice houses and all this, you're rich and you're famous and you've made it and you're successful. But like in the end, like some people don't want that. Like I said, like just when we started off this podcast episode, it's just it's all subjective. And in the end, happiness and like rich and wealth is what you make of it. It's what you want. What you think makes you rich and wealthy and happy is what you're gonna be in the end.
Yeah.
It's all subjective, and that's the bottom line. And that's something I think a lot of people should take, out of today's podcast episode is that your happiness is everything. And if you're not happy, you're never gonna be like successful because I think your happiness is the most biggest thing.
And that's the foundation. That's the foundation of the house, of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. I want to touch up on one other viewer, supporter, Adam Patterson, 2210 on Instagram, my boy Adam from Albany.
Shout out to you.
So he said success is being happy with what you're doing and doing what makes you happy. And I just want to cap, I think we have everything, but I just want to cap everything off with this. That's fucking key. And that's everything we talked about. I think if you're doing that, let me say it again, being happy with what you're doing and you're doing what makes you happy, bro, you're fine. You're on that path of being successful, and you probably just are successful, and you have so much more to gain. This path never stops. Don't get too content, but it never stops, man. We always trying to chase something, and yeah, dog. I just want to ask you, Casey, one question too. What people do you look up to when you that defines success for you? Like I said, I mentioned like Jeff Bezos, like I want to be like that.
So I'm gonna be honest with you.
Or like Jay.
I don't one person I definitely look up to is like my mom. But I think this is gonna sound really cheesy, but the one person I look up to is to what I'm gonna be. I know that sounds real cheesy, right? But hear me out real quick. Like I always look at myself in the past and I look at how far I've come. And I'm always going to keep looking at what I'm going to be later on. I know you can't like dictate what you're going to be, but if you really put your mind on what you want and who you're going to be later on down the road, you can be that person.
But answer, who is that person that like, all right, who is similar to that path? Like me, I'm trying to be like Jay-Z, or I'm trying to be similar to Jay-Z.
So you're talking about like an actual person.
An actual person.
In terms of, okay, so I'm going to definitely say, I think one person I really look up to is my mother. And
besides your mother and
God,
yours.
we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. All right,
because your mother, of course, respect to your mom, Dukes. But I want like your mom is hella like, I'm not trying to downplay this, but your mom's hella successful. I look up to her too. She's doing her thing. Like she's the one that's behind the curtains. You don't even know about her. She's low key, and she's in the local neighborhood, and she doing her thing. Big numbers. But let's talk. Even on that fame, let's talk like celebrity-wise, or like a famous person, like someone you read about.
This is gonna be real.
One person,
it's gonna be
or
real,
two.
This is gonna be super generic.
I don't give a fuck. Let's go. Viewers want to hear it.
JK, nah, it's not gonna be generic. Actually, I'll give you a real answer. Let me give you a real answer. Nah, I'll give you an answer. It's gonna be Gashi. I love his story, and I look at his story, and it's truly inspirational. Every time I feel like I'm not gonna make it, and I know I'm not gonna do that well in anything or music, I look up to his story because his story is out of this world. If you guys haven't checked out Gashi, man, like really tune into his music. I was gonna say Drake, but I was like, nah, that's a very generic answer, and like everyone kind of knows like Drake's story and everything. But I feel like Gashi is really slept on, and a lot of people don't know his story and his come up in the music industry, bro. Like, it took him almost 10 years to blow. He knows what it was like to be homeless and come from different parts of the world where they had nothing. And I look at his shit and I'm just like, damn, bro, it took him 10 years to pop. Like, that's a long time. Not many people want to push that long for a dream. Most people just settle for less and just, all right, I'm going to work a normal job and blah, blah, blah. And I look at his story and I'm like, all right, I want to be like him. And if y'all don't know Gashi, tune into his like his episodes and like his like story, because his story is truly inspirational, especially in the music world and him as a person. Like you can learn something or two from what it means to go through the real struggle and come out on like the brighter end of the side, bro. It's crazy.
Right. And like Nev said, the marathon continues is a marathon, and it's all about how you're gonna last and how patient you're gonna be. And I'm giving you keys for future episodes, how patient you're gonna be. We're gonna talk about that soon. So yeah, I appreciate every single one of you's listening, tuning in, supporting. It means a lot, even if it's just one person. I'm gonna say it all the time. Please like, subscribe, share. It really helps. Comment. Let me know what you're trying to hear. I'm gonna talk about it. We're gonna keep it real. We're gonna keep it trill. Even though it sounds cliche, but I hope this helps somebody out there. And yeah, we define the definition of success, what it means to be successful. Thank you.
We
Brothers
love
in the
you.
deep end.